In a rare interview, The Guardian spoke to Monica Lewinsky about her life after the so-called Lewinsky scandal and also her efforts to fight against bullying online and in person. So Monica Lewinsky was part of the first generation that experienced online harassment and online bullying. And of course, it had to do with the fact that she had an affair with our former president, Bill Clinton. Now, Lewinsky was 22 when she began interning at the White House. She and Bill Clinton started flirting soon afterwards. One day she blurted out to him, "I have a crush on you." And he replied, "Well, do you want to come into the back office?"
Yeah, well, that's subtle.
So eventually, Clinton staffers noticed how much time she was spending with him in the West Wing, including at weekends. And so a deputy chief of staff had her transferred to the Pentagon, which was where she met Linda Tripp. Now, as you guys know, Linda Tripp was the scandalous figure who secretly recorded phone conversations with Monica Lewinsky where she was talking about her relationship with Bill Clinton. That was later leaked to the authorities, and then that led to this huge investigation that eventually got Bill Clinton impeached. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up this interview with The Guardian is A, it's very rare for her to come out and speak to the press because of the way they treated her. And B, I think that some of the things she has to say about her anti-bullying efforts are important, right? Because it is a huge problem for a lot of different people, whether they're public figures or private citizens who have maybe said something unsavory online, right? But before I get to all that, I just want to make a statement about how insanely young she was when all of that happened. She was in her like mid-20s when it all really blew up. Wow.
Yeah, look, it's going to go towards my ruling that's coming in a minute on Monica Lewinsky overall. But when I was 25 and single, and let's say there was a reasonably attractive female president, and Bill Clinton at the time was a reasonably attractive male president, and she came on to me, I'd say I wonder which way that's going to go, but I actually don't wonder, right? So what she did is perfectly understandable. Okay, you might not agree, you might have qualms with certainly with what he did, and you might say, well, look, he's married, you should have abstained from that. I have not abstained from women who were married when I was single. I thought that's their issue, not my issue, right? So, but now her, we're going to judge for the rest of time. And that's now it's gotten to a point where it's enough is enough, no mas.
Well, it had a traumatic effect on her then, and I can definitely sense from this interview that she's still feeling the ramifications today because every answer she gave in the interview was very careful. In fact, at one point she stopped herself as she was answering and she's like, I have to rethink the way I want to word this because I don't want it to come back and bite me in the ass. Like, I'm paraphrasing what she says, but that's what she implied, and I can completely understand that. Now, when Linda Tripp, arrived, she motioned behind her and two federal agents suddenly appeared. "You're in trouble," they told Lewinsky. That was the day when the FBI approached her and told her, "Hey, you know what? We need to investigate you." And part of the reason why they were investigating her is because there was already an investigation into Bill Clinton's past as the governor of Arkansas. There were already accusations against him, sexually harassing other female employees.
So there's a lot of guilty people in this saga. Monica Lewinsky I don't think is among them, certainly not. Even if you thought that back then, I think we're at a point where it's crazy to hold a grudge against her. But Linda Tripp is clearly one of the bad guys here. She breaks Monica Lewinsky's confidence, secretly records the conversations, as you said, turns them over to the authorities, and then she invites her to lunch to get ambushed in the way that Anna just explained. They take her upstairs, and now here's where the prosecutors, Ken Starr and the others, are such bad guys because they threaten her with 27 years of prison. Well, what the hell did she do, right? There's an argument to be made that he abused her power position by hooking up with her, right? But they want to get the dirt on Bill Clinton. It's a politically driven prosecution. So victims be damned. Theoretically, the prosecutor's supposed to be looking out for the victims.
Yeah.
Theoretically, Monica Lewinsky's a victim. But what do? They say, we're going to crush you. Okay,
And
she's
they
like,
did.
oh my God, I'm 25. What in the world is going on? They're like, you're going to face 27 years in prison, and we're going to charge you with perjury unless you tell us everything that Bill Clinton did, right? What happened to protecting the victims? No, they're liars. Those prosecutors were deeply Republican. Nobody disputes that anymore, right? They were completely driven by politics.
So, as Monica Lewinsky is speaking to John Ronson from The Garden, she says the following, graphic 25. The truth is I'm exhausted, so I'm worried I may misspeak, and that thing will become the headline and the cycle will start all over again. You could just sense how afraid she is of that. I felt like every layer of my skin and my identity were ripped off me in 98 and 99. It's a skinning of sorts. You feel incredibly raw and frightened, but I also feel like the shame sticks to you like tar. So even today, she's still feeling it. It's incredible.
So now we know why, right? Because of Ken Starr, the pervert who drove this prosecution of Bill Clinton. And I call him a pervert because he was obsessed with every sexual detail.
Yep.
So we found out every sexual detail in things that were nowhere near pertinent to the investigation. Okay, they had an affair. I got it. That's the pertinent part. No, but that wasn't enough for Ken Starr. He had to figure out where there was a cigar. Where did he put the cigar? Show me in explicit details and describe to me, God knows what he did with that stuff afterwards.
Yeah,
okay.
So there were at least 9 sexual encounters that she was forced to detail to the investigators. And I could just imagine how terrible that is for a young woman, right? Look, I'm not as forgiving as you are when it comes to both parties in an affair, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. The power of a president could be intoxicating and exciting, and I could see why someone would fall for that. But at the same time, I'm not going to just give her a pass. She did something wrong, he did something wrong, that's it. But I do want to add that regardless of that, detailing every intimate moment that she had with him, and some of them were pretty explicit, is sickening, right? You're right. It didn't need to be leaked to the public. It didn't need to be a media spectacle, but that's what it turned into.
I've got an overall ruling on it. Get off of her. Just stop it. Enough is enough. The main thing that people talk about is, okay, let's just be honest, the oral sex. Because that, again, because of the pervert Kenneth Starr, we found out more about that and that we needed to, but they got into the detail of what is sex and what is not sex, etc. And for decades, like, ha ha, you gave oral sex, ha ha, that's what she's known for, right? Who did? Who hasn't? Really?
By the way,
okay, let's talk. You want to talk about your wives? You want to talk about your girlfriends? Do you want to talk about other women you know?
What about you?
What about you?
How many dudes have eaten pussy? Like, seriously,
what about
like,
you?
I'm so tired of like the blowjob shaming. Like,
yeah.
we're all human. We all engage in sexual activity if we're lucky, right? Like, there's nothing to be ashamed about. Like, I get it. It was an affair. It was wrong. It shouldn't have happened. But to have this follow her around for the rest of her life is crazy.
I mean, guys will go around. I'm really pissed about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So guys will go around like, oh, give me a blowjob, all right, to their girlfriends or whatever, right? And then Monica Lewinsky is known because of, again, the pervert Ken Starr about that, right? And they're like, ha ha, she gave a blowjob. Ha 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 ha. Well, you fucking idiot. That's what you've been begging for your whole life. So, like, what's now it's wrong because she did it, right? And you're going to tar her for that for decades on end? Enough is enough. Let her go already.
I need to add something to that because it wasn't just men that were shaming her. Some of the women were vicious, including some feminist women like Nancy Friday. I had never heard of Nancy Friday before, but just based on this quote, she's deplorable. She said, she was asked in a media interview, hey, what do you think about Monica Lewinsky's future? And here's what Nancy Friday had to say about that. She can rent out her mouth.
Jesus Christ, man. Okay, yeah.
Good feminist there.
Yeah. Hey, Friday, let's get Ken Starr to dive into your sex life. Let's see what we find, right? And then let's tell everybody in the world the dirtiest thing you've ever done, right? So who's going to withstand that scrutiny? I got news for you. No one is going to withstand that scrutiny. Okay, and guys, that is, oh, yeah, so what, man? I never, well, congratulations, by the way, if you've never done oral sex on your partner. Real class act. Okay, I didn't do that. Right, which guy hasn't masturbated? Okay, now let's say we got a minute-by-minute description of what you did at that moment.
Yep.
And that's what you're known for the rest of your life because assholes can't let it go, right?
Yeah, you'll be known as Splooge Stooge.
Right, okay. You want to, okay, no, that's not fair. But what we've done to Monica Lewinsky all this time is fair. No, it ain't fair. Even if you thought, not illegal, but a moral wrongdoing. The crime does not fit the punishment.
Yep.
Okay? And I don't think it was a crime at all. To me, the married person is the one completely responsible. And so, okay, we can disagree on that.
By the way, I was reading about that today just to make sure I had all the background information on it. You know that Bill Clinton, because originally he said that he did not have sexual relations with her, right?
Yes.
Later on, when there was evidence that he had sexual relations with her, he was like, well, you know, under the typical or the real definition of no, oral sex is sex, homeboy. And then he was like, and then even then, I was kind of like the passive person.
Oh, I know.
Like,
She took advantage of you, Bill. I know. You poor you. Poor you. So, look, I defended, at the time I was a Republican, but I defended Bill Clinton against impeachment because I was like, you don't impeach a president over a blowjob. Okay, get real. Become an adult, okay?
Yeah.
So these childish Republicans running around like, you got a blowjob. We got him, right? Got everybody involved in this story. Such a bad guy. But I will tell you this. I remember criticizing Monica Lewinsky back then because she kept the dress. And so that proved that Bill Clinton was lying. And I thought, why keep the dress with the evidence on it, right? Well, you know what? It's a good thing she kept the dress because it turns out they lied about her. The Clinton administration insinuated that she was a lying, you know, fill in every blank you've got there, who was looking for attention. And
Hillary Clinton referred to her as a narcissistic Looney Tune. So yeah, that was the narrative.
Now, after you know that it's true and they start calling you a narcissistic Looney Tune, right? Saying, oh, she's crazy. She just wants the attention. Like, oh yeah, fuck you, here's the dress, right? And she didn't even do that. They had to drag it out of her, right? So no, not guilty. We're done with it. If you, from going forward, you criticize Monica Lewinsky, all it does is to prove that you're a prick.